If you're new to AFK Journey, you're probably wondering who to put in your wishlist, and especially if you're free to play, there's some potential mistakes that you could make when it comes to selecting your heroes. So let's go ahead and talk about those mistakes, because I know at least 2 people in my community that made the mistake of doing one of these particular things we're going to talk about today, and it ended up wrecking their progress. One of them has stuck in and is persevering with his account. The other person had to go ahead and restart his whole account just to undo the mistake. So let's go talk about wish lists and what you should avoid when choosing yours. So for AFK Journey, at the moment, we have a rate up recruitment for Vala. Now that's important for 2 reasons. First of all, it's going to get a lot of people wasting their gems trying to get Vala copies. I strongly recommend you don't do this. But the other thing about this is it means Vala is not available in the Lightbearer wishlist, which has a lot of people throwing Rowan into their wishlist, which is technically a good thing. When it comes to Lightbearer, Rowan and Temesia are really solid picks. In fact, Temesia is really the only one you want to be getting because she can hard carry you early on. When it comes to A tiers, you're going to be wanting Corrin and Marilee. And the reason you're putting these heroes in this wishlist is so that they're the heroes you get from your summons as opposed to anybody else. So it's really important we select these heroes. However, when you're early on, you only really want to be getting 1 Rowan copy, and if you're a spender, the odds that you get a Rowan is basically guaranteed, because the first time you spend, a Rowan copy is given to you for free. When that happens, what I would do is swap your Rowan for a Cassidy. Now, this is because Cassidy has the ability to join in when other people like Marilee, for example, do their normal attacks. This is a really strong ability to have and allows Cassidy to really help in boss fights. However, once you've got 1 Cassidy, you can stick in here and maybe get it to Legendary or higher, but at that point I'd swap Rowan back in just for the time being, because you will eventually want to level up Rowan. However, don't just leave him in and forget to grab a Cassidy, because I know people that have gone ahead and summoned tons of Rowans, and it's been the only hero they've managed to get. Now, Rowan is great. Rowan heals you up, he feeds energy to your team, but if he's the only hero you have at Mythic, your team's gonna suck, because he's supposed to support people, and if he's got no one to support, he's not going to do very well. So make sure you swap it to the Cassidy, because you'd rather have the selection of having Cassidy and Rowan on your account than being just stuck with a ton of Rowans. Now, the important thing I should mention here is as soon as this rate up recruitment ends, and heck, you might be watching this in the future and it already has, you do not want Rowan on this list. You want to swap that Rowan for a Vala, because it's not important that you get a lot of Rowans, especially not early on. Vala's really strong, Temesia's really strong, so you want both of those up there in Lightbearer. When it comes down to the Mauler faction, you absolutely want to get Smokey. Smokey is the most important Mauler hero, as he is going to heal your team and let you win fights you honestly didn't deserve to. Smokey is incredible. However, when it comes to the other pick, Brutus will want to be in here until you have 1 copy. Like Rowan, once you've already got a Brutus, you no longer need to be selecting him as an up hero. And that's because the point of having Brutus on your team is because when he would first die, he becomes immune and for a few seconds cannot be killed. That's going to buy you a little bit of time in a fight, giving a strong hero like Cecia the opportunity to gain ult charge, use her ultimate, and swing the fight in your favor. For that reason, Brutus is a really strong tank early on, and getting 1 copy allows him to tank to the best of his abilities. Investing further in him isn't necessary, because all we need is that survival ability. Getting more copies is a waste, and that's why you'd rather, when you've got 1 copy, swap him to Shakir or to Reese. Shakir's a good melee damage dealer with a lot of sustain and a good damage output, whereas Reese is really annoying in PvP game modes because he runs around, shoots opponents, and he's like Temesia but with a gun. Really good fun, definitely worth grabbing a copy of him. But you need to make sure you've got your Brutus first before you do that. Now for Mauler, when it comes to A tiers, you absolutely want OD in here, no question. You want to get as many copies as you can to get into Mythic Plus as fast as possible. This guy has incredible damage against single targets, and once he's Mythic Plus, he can execute opponents when they drop below a certain HP threshold. That is ridiculous and can melt teams really quickly. You want to get OD as fast as possible and should be prioritizing him from the Dream Shop whenever you can grab him. When it comes to the next pick, I love Coco here, because Coco is able to heal you, give you damage reduction, lifesteal, attack bonuses. She's one of the best supports in the game and is used on the most powerful Mauler lineups that use Smokey and Coco together to both heal and sustain your team, allowing your main heroes like Cecia, for example, to stay alive and get those ults in. If you've already got a few Coco copies though, you might want to consider Kruger, because Kruger's a good frontline hero that can deal aggressive damage, and it will also help you in boss fights, especially because his damage output's really strong and his debuffs are really nice. Although a lot of people like Entendre because she's a really solid tank and suits that mauler strategy when you're just trying to have a bunch of maulers in there to support your team. For now though, if you're early on, I'd go and get Coco and then stack up some Krugers and get some Entendres if you haven't got it already. For Wilder, we absolutely want Eron in here as a choice because like Temesia, he's your carry hero but for the Wilder faction. This guy's got a lot of crowd control, a lot of damage. He can be a pseudo tank because he can dodge, and as soon as you get him to Mythic Plus, he is insane. He triggers his ultimate right at the start of the fight and it's devastating for buying you that little bit of time, allowing other heroes to do their ultimate. He's also kind of a tank, which is really fun because of that dodge ability and shield gain he has, so he's a bit of a jack of all trades that's absolutely incredible. When it comes to your next pick here on the wish list, you probably want to be going with Hewen because Hewen is a really solid healer, and like Smokey, can give you that reliable sustain that can let you win fights you arguably shouldn't be able to. The only issue with Hewen is she's really ultimate reliant, so you are going to need heroes that can buy her time to use her ultimate, but when she gets it, the fight's totally yours and won because the healing is so consistent. Now when it comes to A tiers in the Wilder faction, Arden is a great pick. He offers amazing control and good damage pressure if you have a lot of other control effects on your team. Definitely worth considering, especially when you get a lot of copies of him, because on a team dedicated to control, such as with Aaron or Carolina, heroes like that, he could be absolutely insane. Second here, I've got Damien, but you could just as easily go with Leica. One of those three are really good. Damien's fantastic because he just disappears from the battlefield and heals you from a distance and gives you control and just throws contraptions onto the battlefield to keep you in the game. Really strong in PvP, very annoying on defensive lineups, especially when you use him in conjunction with Igor. However, if you get a Leica here, that's completely fine too. She's got incredible damage, increases the attack speed of your heroes, and adds further damage to your heroes' ultimates, making her really solid, especially if you have lots of area of effect attacks. Finally, for the Graveborn faction, you absolutely want Thorin and Cecia. These are two really good carry heroes that you want to get copies of fast. Getting Cecia to Mythic Plus as fast as possible is really important because pretty much she just wins fights in her favor, especially early on. Sure, late game she's going to drop off, but you need to get to late game in the first place, and she is one of the easiest heroes to take you there. So get your Cecia copies, even buy her from the PvP shop if you have to, and start dominating the game. As for tanks, Thorin is unmatched. Best tank in the game, has a resurrection, and therefore can really sustain against bosses, which can have one-shots such as Croaker. And as well, this guy has debuffs that he can throw onto opponents, and he also steals HP, making himself even more tanky. Really phenomenal hero. Get him to Mythic Plus as fast as you can. When it comes to A tiers, we've got Sylvina, who's able to jump on the back line, steal energy, and deal a ton of damage. Definitely a great pick. And we've got Viperion, who's able to just do continuous and oppressive damage over time. And if he doesn't take too much damage when he gets to his ult, he can do devastating damage because all the opponents will be wrapped up with snakes that are going to take so much damage. Now, Vipe's definitely a must-have, but you could swap Sylvina for Niru, as Niru's really cool. Once you get him to Mythic Plus, he's able to guarantee one of your heroes gets a resurrect, which is fantastic. Really cool support hero that offers a very unique mechanic, and the more ults he does, the more heroes he can give resurrects to, and he can get very silly if you invest in him. So in sustain lineups, especially defensive lineups, this guy can be ridiculous. So that's a rundown of what you want in your wish list, and fingers crossed you don't end up just getting a million Rowan copies, as that has happened to people in the past, and honestly, I feel really bad for them. For that reason, when it comes to epic recruitment, you definitely don't want to do what some people are doing and throwing Rowan in here too. I think that's wild. You do not want Rowan on this list. If you want to save 5, just go with Aaron, Cecia, Smokey, Temesia, and Thorin. These 5 will absolutely carry you in the early game if you can get a ton of copies of them. And then the other heroes you'll want to swap in, once you've got a comfortable number of Cecias, you'll want Igor in here as he's a really good oppressive damage dealer, especially late game when you get more copies. Or you could even go with Carolina because her control effects are phenomenal and she's one of my favorite heroes in the game. If you're more orientated around PvP or just want to go with some maulers, Shakir and Reese are really solid picks. Bryon probably isn't going to get a cut here, but Hewen, if you need more healing, is definitely going to be a grab. Just whatever you do, don't put Brutus up in this hero choice because like we said, you only need 1 copy of this guy to do well. So absolutely just wait until you pick him up from normal recruits. Don't waste your epic invites by going for Brutus. If in doubt, go with this 5 and you'll have no trouble whatsoever. But you can totally experiment around and switch in heroes that you might like. Maybe you're an absolute Graveborn fiend and want this list. That's totally cool. But do remember though, you can pick up heroes like Igor from the PvP shop, so that may be more a priority you want to lean towards. So hopefully with this guide, you've been able to set up your wish list right and get the heroes that you need to carry you through early game. Don't throw Rowan on too many of these lists, and make sure you take him out once you get one copy. Same goes with Brutus, and fingers crossed as soon as Vala comes off the rate up, you can swap out Rowan or Cassidy, whichever one you've got there, and put her in so you can get as many copies of her from our normal recruits as possible. Hopefully you learned something today, and if you want to catch more AFK Journey content, hit that subscribe button and join us for more. I've either got a walkthrough series where you can watch me playing through the game, or you can join us for more guides that will be uploaded in the future. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have an amazing week, and happy ironing.